Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Profit Minds podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Stephen Kirch, creator of the Profit Minds Growth System, a unique blend of profit growth, productivity acceleration, and building robust business process for scale. In every episode, I interview entrepreneurs and small business owners from around the world with a unique story to tell. You can find the show on YouTube, LinkedIn, Apple and Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and more. Well, hello, everyone. Today, my guest is Matt Levenhagen, founder and CEO of Unified Web Design. And today, we're going to be talking about how to build strategic partnerships to extend and enhance your business. Welcome, Matt.
Thanks for having me, Steve.
Yeah, so as you know, the first question that I always ask every one of my guests is, how did you get here? What's your story?
Well, my story is that I started out my life as an artist, my adult life. And
I bet you were an artist actually before that.
Yeah, well, through it as you're a kid, everyone's an artist when they're a kid.
Yeah, that's true.
And so I'm going to fast forward through it all though. So that didn't really work out. At one point, I got tired of being a struggling artist in my mid-20s. I had another passion though. I like business. And so I actually went back to school for business. And then I ended up working in the insurance industry for about a decade. I ran agencies. I owned an agency with another person or a book business and started my own agency. I was a contractor for a while. Then I got in the internet business. I built my first website in 2003. Learned about affiliate marketing by making a sale on that website. And that took me into this long odyssey of about 10 years doing internet marketing and selling products as an affiliate online using Google AdWords and other methods, and ended up creating my own digital products, memberships, all this stuff. 2012, I was burned out and ready to pivot. I cashed out and I made that decision at that point. After thinking about it, I'm like, what else do I want to do? What do I enjoy doing? And kind of my passion really revolved around, or I thought my passion could revolve around building websites, because over all those years, I did all that marketing. I built a lot of websites for myself, niche sites, did a lot of niche marketing, sales pages, membership, all this stuff. Like, wow, I really enjoyed tinkering with websites. So let's see if I can do that for other people. And got into freelancing, did that for a few years. Worked for a corporation for about 4 years as their lead web developer, and then after that, I started an agency. That was about January 2019, and I've been doing that ever since. So I got a web design and development agency. In a nutshell, flew through it.
That's a pretty winding, circuitous path to get there. So what is it about the web design stuff that you found so appealing?
I think design's in there, right? I kind of have that artistic background and I like creating and building things. And so that kind of was in it. I'm a techie. I like tech. I like being on a computer. I like working on a computer. I like the website aspect of everything, and so it was kind of this blend of those two things in business. I really love business. And so I could start a business, I could play around with websites and be creative.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting that you have both sides of your brain, right? You have the techie piece, the numbers piece, the business piece, and the artist piece, right? That's a pretty unusual combination. Was it were your parents both artistic or numbers people, or how did that wind up? Do you have any sense of how you got there?
That's a really good question. Actually, it's funny. Well, my real mom died when I was 7 or 6 years old. And she was artistic. We still have some of her artwork, like some of her
Mm.
drawings and stuff. She was really into horses and all this stuff. And but then I look at my dad. My dad's more analytical. He's the
Uh,
business guy. So maybe that there is a blend there. Maybe that
uh,
is why I am the way I am. Maybe there is
yeah,
a reason.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I have the same challenge, I should say. My although my dad actually had both sides. My dad was an engineer, but he was also a musician.
Yeah.
And I find myself in both camps as well, as do both of my kids.
Yeah, I
Um,
think it's more common than we think. I mean, I know somebody, a good friend of mine. He's also a musician, but he's a big business guy. Like he's been in business for decades, or in working for corporations. But he's been a CEO. He's done all this stuff, but he's also got that creative side that he can kind of escape. Maybe that's that balance we need in life to make us happy
yeah,
or something. For
yeah,
us type of people.
yeah. So what are the kinds of things that you do for your clients in the web design business that you're in?
Yeah, so I kind of have us pegged as a full service web design development agency. So we can do everything from designing your website all the way to developing it. 90%, just the way it kind of fell, because I was specialized in WordPress. 90% of or plus of what we do is WordPress. So we're building WordPress websites, themes, plugins, all that good stuff. Um, so we do that, and we also, but one of my things is, maybe this is the creative part of me, or the problem-solving part of me, that that blend. I like to do custom work. I don't like to like. I love somebody giving me a vision for something and me figuring out how to get it done, from
How
the
how
back
to
end to the
de-
front end.
how to depict it, how to
How to
display it,
design
right?
it, architect
Yeah.
it, from how it functions, the business logic or whatever behind the scenes, to how it's displayed, that type of thing. So we kind of do the custom stuff, and then that could be features or whole websites, and then maintenance, just taking care of websites and keeping them up to date and secure and that stuff. So that's kind of what we do for clients, but also for partners. We partner with various agencies to help them help their clients do whatever it is we've agreed upon doing.
Yeah, yeah. Let's talk about that a little bit. I mean, that was sort of the teaser that we had at the beginning of the show
Yeah.
was about partnerships, and I presume that a lot of that grew out of your affiliate marketing experience, the idea of building those relationships.
Yeah, I guess you could draw a line there too, because when you're an affiliate marketer, sometimes you're kind of independent and you just grab links and promote them. But also, a lot of affiliate marketing is doing joint ventures and doing things together to promote other people's products. I know I think there's this thread through all the businesses I've been in, even back to the contracting days, insurance days, where I guess I naturally always felt like I wanted to do things with other people that I could do more and leverage either their abilities or them. Together we could leverage each other's skills or whatever we bring to the table. So I had partners in all those things, and even in internet marketing, when I was doing memberships and stuff, I had partners that we would all bring something to the table and do something great. So when started the agency, it was kind of the same thing. I started out on my own, basically as a freelancer calling himself an agency, which started outsourcing projects and eventually building a team, and eventually building longer term relationships with other agencies or clients um, to do more together, and building strategic partnerships, even or just relationships with others that do things we don't, because we're very narrow in what we do.
Yeah. So what makes a successful relationship then? What makes a successful joint venture or partnership in your experience?
It's something I would call fit.
Okay.
You have to fit together, right? You have to like each other. That's a good starting point.
Mm,
When when I start when I first start working with somebody, let's say it's another agency, that maybe they're a digital marketing agency. They do advertising, they marketing and all that, but they don't have much of a web development or web design team, if they have one at all. It's us coming together and getting on some calls. How can we help you? How can we work together? And through that process, and getting started, maybe doing some small projects or whatever that is, you start to get to know that other person. You start to get a feel for their personality and how they do business, how they communicate. And you start to either, it's just like, kind of meeting somebody and can this person be my friend, right? Do you get a good feeling around them? Do you have things in common? And then it kind of starts to turn into, do we have a good culture that complements their culture and how we do things, and so it has to be all these things align, and it's more of a feel good thing. Of course, you want to bring something to the table, your whatever services you do and the actual work, but underlying that is you have to have a good relationship, and you have to think about things in a similar way in terms of communication, how you do business, and how you deal with clients and how you get work done. And also it gets deeper. It's also caring about um the future. Like, what can we do together now? But also, well, maybe we can do more together later. Like, what are your goals for your business? Maybe they align, and hopefully they align, with my goals or whatever. So it's that combination of things. Also, it's money is an important thing. Making sure that that's established. That that you deal with money in the same way. They care about paying you. It's always a good thing.
yeah, yeah.
Um, I mean, we had a recent conversation. We're starting a kind of a new relationship with a new agency, a new collaboration. We're going to be helping them maintain some sites. They got about 90 sites, and they needed to get the maintenance off the plate. And I noticed at first I'd invoiced the first invoice. It didn't get paid right away, and now I could automatically get angry about that, or I, if some people might, and be like, what are they doing? They're not going to pay me now, and but I didn't worry about it because we had otherwise already started building that good relationship. And I just brought it up. I said, what are your processes? What should I expect? What are my expectations? How long will you take? And that invoice was paid like within an hour. And then he just said, we're a net 30 company. We'll typically pay you within a few weeks. That's all I need to know. It was a beautiful thing. Now I'm less stressed. We move on. But that's, now we have that alignment. We understand each other's, that they do care. This is how they usually do stuff and whatever. So
But what's really key here, as I'm hearing it, is the relationship that you've built over
yeah.
time before you got to that point, and then your willingness to bank on that relationship, both figuratively and literally, to give the guy grace.
Yeah, I mean, you can't automatically. I mean, certainly there's a lot of people out there. If you've been in business for any amount of time, there's people out there that are that are not good people, and they will try to, not pay you or whatever. But if you started to build that relationship and you get to know somebody, and again, some people are really good at being nice and saying what you want to hear and all this stuff, but hopefully that's kind of a test, right? In that situation, how did they respond to that? Sometimes I'll give people, especially in the beginning, a little more time. We're just getting started. I've had similar situations like that, but as soon as I bring it up and they understand it's important to me, and suddenly it becomes important to them, that's a good starting point. You
Right.
know, if they apologize and then they take care of it, and then the next project you have, oh, by the way, Matt, I'm making sure that this invoice is going to get paid in X amount of time. You know, but yeah, it's funny. You don't think about money in terms of relationships. Maybe the relationship is just, hey, small talk and all that stuff. Um, but money's an important thing, because we all need good cash flow in business, right?
Yeah. Now, in your relationships, are these, when you refer somebody to another, to somebody else that's in your, one of these joint venture partners or whatever, do you then shepherd that client through that relationship, or do you just turn them over to them? How does that work? What's your recommendation there?
Yeah, so there's a couple ways to handle that. Now we're typically, well, we also have agencies that do work for us. We're doing work for other agencies and their clients. And it when I first start engage with somebody, get on a call and see what their pain points are. What are we trying to solve for them? How can we work together? Um, there's kind of there's two ways it can kind of go. It can, for us anyway, it's either we're going to be white label, which means we're behind the scenes. We're just doing work for the agency. As far as the clients know, the agency's doing that agency's doing all the work, right? We're an in-house team for them. Or it can be a scenario where it's a referral based situation. Sometimes, and that can be structured in different ways, but it's just, maybe you have, like, for example, we have an agency where they build, they're in a very specific vertical. They're like HVAC contractors. But they have a very specific way, a narrow way they build websites for these guys or gals. And so they're kind of on rails, and they don't want to go outside that. We build it a certain way, and then we can get to marketing and driving traffic and doing whatever they're doing for that client. Well, once in a while, the client has other ideas. They have this feature, or they have this more advanced, maybe an API, something complicated that takes them outside of that. And they don't want to do it themselves, because that breaks everything they're doing, right? It's going to have ripple effects and take time away from other things or whatever. So
It's
we've
harder to
become,
maintain. There's all
yeah,
kinds
it's
of,
right. I mean, it's just the scope is just going to go, who knows where it's going to go. So what our agreement is and how we work is they'll literally introduce me to that client. And then I will deal with the client and invoice and do all that stuff separately, but we're still working together, right? So they might be building the website, we're building a feature of that website, and then our teams work together to take care of this client, but the client knows about us. But again, there's also the white label where I might even have that agency's email. It might be a Matt at whatever their company is, and when I interact with the clients, or I get on a call, or I go on site, I'm showing up as part of their agency, as just Matt Levenhagen, and Unified has nothing to do with it. It's just, but my team's still probably going to do the work, help do the work. But and it's never, I think a lot of companies just assume people outsource and do different things. They care more about the job getting done. So it's never really a problem. In the years I've done this, I've never had a client look me up and Google me or anything like that. And like, wait a minute, you don't work for this company. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. It's just kind of those two paths. It can be referral based, or it can be behind the scenes.
yeah. Now, do some people, and I've heard different philosophies on this, do you do a referral fee for that, or how do you work the monetary piece of it? Or Does it
Both ways
depend?
again. Yeah.
Yeah.
I again, like that example I just gave you, there's never a referral fee. It's just, we just take care of it. Um, but if somebody, I do have another agency I work with. We've kind of had an agreement. I think it was, yeah, I think for a long while, it's been a while since we've done this. It was like $400. If you send us something, like we'll give you $400 to for the referral. It can be as simple as that, or whatever that makes sense for the size and
Yeah.
scope
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
whatever. Um, but that's, yeah. So it can, again, that's kind of how I operate and approach things. I have to remain flexible and have those options available. And I can, when I talk to an agency, it's going to be, you know, listening to what their situation is, how they work and how they want to work. Sometimes they know up front, like this is the way we need to set up. Otherwise, I can bring to the table all the experiences and what works for others and offer recommendations and all that stuff. So it just depends. It always depends.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and there's a wide variety of advice that I've gotten with regard to that. Some people say, well, you shouldn't ask for a referral fee because then people will think that you're giving this just to get the referral fee as opposed to, delivering the good service. And other people say, yeah, but you should get paid for referring the business to the other. So it's different philosophies of operation, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, that can be applied to many things. I think it's dependent on that particular relationship and what it is. Like the agency I gave the $400 to for a referral. We've done a lot of projects for him over the years. Actually, he was like one of the first agencies I started working with, and we have a good relationship. And he just asked, and I'm like, sure. It doesn't, but it didn't change anything. Like he
Yeah.
could have said not, whatever. Maybe he just, I don't know the reason he thought he
Mhm.
should get a fee, but it is what it is. But it's that way with so many things, right? I mean, like people that talk about you should never, like in my industry or like web development, and people are like, don't charge hourly for anything. Never bill hourly. That's terrible. Only do project based. Only do value pricing and all that good stuff. And that sounds good on paper, or like when somebody's speaking on YouTube or something. But the reality is, hourly's fine if you structure it right, you do it right, and the relationships make, some I do, some I don't. And we have a large agency that we do business with who've literally been an agency since like the mid 90s. Like they've been around that long. They're a big agency, big clients. Everything's hourly, everything. And they do very well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
got to track it all,
Yeah.
but that's the only bummer with that.
Yeah. Now, are all of your relationships domestic here in the States, or do you have international folks you work with as well?
Good question. um, so I think most, let's see, my agencies are mostly in the States. Like I have one, that large agency I just mentioned is actually local here in Milwaukee area, um, in Wisconsin. But then others are kind of spread out through the country, in different regions. I have like freelancers and stuff. So, besides, actual full agencies, I do have relationships with other like freelancers that might have a specialty, let's say a videographer or SEO person or a this and that. And a few of those are like I got a couple people I know in the UK, for example. There's a guy, he's like an e-commerce expert, SEO guy. Another guy's a CRO, uh, conversion uh, conversion rate optimization expert guy. Um, so kind of that way they're global.
Yeah.
So
Okay. All right.
it just depends. It doesn't. The difference is, so when I built my agency, I had been on the web for 20 plus years, and I knew a lot of people, all over the place, and just based on what I'd all done. So I just kind of naturally got, went on the web and just found people wherever. And I never asked that it was local. I do have that local agency, which is, it's different. It's definitely different. because I see them a lot more in person. I'm at their agency. I actually go to their agency to meet clients or go to the clients. That's the only difference. Otherwise, still a lot of stuff happens through Google Meet or they use Teamwork. Still a lot of it's web based, but you're just
Yeah.
so yeah.
To me, that was one of the gifts of the pandemic, right? I mean, there was a lot of challenge associated with that, of course,
Yeah.
both personally and professionally. But now, sort of everybody expects to do business at some level this way without having to sit down over a cup of coffee in person. Not saying that that's a bad thing or a good thing, right? I mean, I really enjoy going and have a cup of coffee with a good friend. And relationships are different when you're in person, but people are much more comfortable, I think, now in doing business where you never actually shake their hand physically.
Yeah, it's that brought it home into a lot more people, maybe literally. Uh, they
Yeah,
the pandemic, because everyone's had to start working. Even my wife now, she works at home now. That wasn't a thing before the pandemic.
that's right.
She's in healthcare. Um, but yeah, it's funny because like a lot of like people I know, right? We've been online for 20 years.
Right.
I literally I started working full time online in fall of 2005. So I've literally been in this same room. I was actually in a desk over there for a little while, first most of it, but uh, but
Right.
I've been in the same place doing business for that many years, almost 20 years. Um, and before everybody else said, "Oh, this is a good thing."
Yeah. How about
I like working at home,
that?
but you get used to it. It is weird. It's something that's kind of cool. I remember the first time I think the first person internationally I talked to for whatever reason was like based in Israel or something. Um, and I just remember getting on a Zoom call, and this is many years ago, and having a real-time conversation like we're having, right? I'm like, how is this even possible? Like, I'm seeing them in video and we're having this instant conversation. And I don't even know if it was video. Maybe it was just audio. I don't remember. It's a long time ago. But still, it's just amazing. It's like we're so interconnected now. And like my team, I have an international team. So half my team, so I'm split between India and Philippines. And I get on calls with them all the time. And it's like they might as well just be next door.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. So let's talk a little, just a few more minutes here about that building that international team. What was it that how did you do that, and what are some of the things that are really important to be aware of as because some of the listeners may be interested in doing that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a whole topic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I should have you back and we talk about that one.
Right. Well, I could touch on it though. I think so. Even back in my internet marketing days, late 2000s, I was doing niche marketing, and I program that taught how to find people in the Philippines. There's a website out there called onlinejobs.ph. I think it's the owner of that website is who had this course. I'm not going to remember his name off the top of my head for whatever reason. I'm not good with names, but but anyway, so he's still around, I think. But that website's still around. But that's where I started. So when I started doing the agency and I needed help, it was actually the first time I hired somebody was. So this is how it can work, right? You just need to find one or a few people. And so you might go to onlinejobs.ph, amazing site. There's, you have to, again, it's a whole topic on how to work with and, with international people. But I found I had a new contract that I was working on. It was for a digital marketing company. They're not an agency. They actually do promotions and their own thing. And the deal was they needed a front end person. They didn't want to manage a front end team. So, Matt, can you find somebody for us and then manage that person? That was literally the deal.
Hmm.
If I could go out and find somebody, for a fee, I went out, I found this person, trained them, all that. And then it's been 3.5+ years. Over 3.5 years, she's been with me, dedicated resource for that company.
Wow.
And yeah, still around, Krista. And Krista, she's amazing. She obviously, that's why she's still here. She had a web development skill that she deploys and helps them with landing pages, funnels, and all this stuff. But she knew. Now, shortly after that, I was starting to get busy, so that was a good monthly contract, RSA. And then the next month, I'm like, I really could use a VA, somebody to start helping me with admin stuff. Well, she had a friend. And so she introduced me to a friend who is still with me to this day and helps me on the admin and actually with content and stuff and distribution and all that. And then at some point I needed a project manager, a friend, an introduction. I do like my Indian team is kind of developed the same way. We got a developer, and then I needed another developer. She had a friend. Yeah. So it's kind of, and I love that. I love that dynamic, having people that know each other, or like my Indian team, Janine and Ellen know each other. They work in the same space so they can help each other out. It's a beautiful thing. But I think it can organically happen. So there's sites, again, to recap, there's sites that can help you find people, or there's probably resources online to find people. And then
but it seems like it's all about relationships.
It's about relationships.
Yeah. So
Even
Matt, if somebody wanted to reach out to you, what would be the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Well, so there's a couple places I hang out, but the biggest place I hang out is LinkedIn. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. I'm there every day. You can message me there, and then if you're interested in web design development or anything like that, obviously I got unifiedwebdesign.com. There's a Calendly link. We can hop on a call, see what you need, see if we're a good fit for you, or if you just want to chat. And then you also, if you go to mattlevenhagen.com, I talk a lot more about teams and processes. I also have a guide on the homepage you can download and enter my world. It's a guide about outsourcing and everything we talked about here, building relationships, how to actually approach it and be successful at it.
Great.
In a nutshell.
Thanks. And that concludes our show. Thanks to my guest, Matt Levenhagen. I hope you learned something about building strategic partnerships. I know I did. Thanks for listening. You've been listening to the Profit Minds podcast. This is your host, Dr. Stephen Kirch. Please visit www.profitminds.net for other episodes or to contact me. Thank you for your positive feedback, comments, questions, and for sharing this show with others. Thanks for listening. Have a grateful day.